everyone. Welcome to What's Up Punta Cana. This is Kristi Maggio, and I have just been waiting and waiting for this episode to air this week because it has been so amazing getting to know, and watching over and over again the interview that I had with this week's guest, former Harlem Globetrotter Herbert Flight Time Lang. And he really is an amazing person with an amazing attitude and a great perspective on so many things happening in the world right now and in life in general. And so I hope all of you enjoy listening and learning from him as much as I did. So today we're here with Herbert Flight Time Lang, one of the former Harlem Globetrotters, and now motivational speaker, best-selling author, an inspiration to children. Am I missing anything? I mean, you have quite the.
I think that sounded pretty good. I think we can roll with that, Kristi.
It's amazing. It's amazing all the wonderful things you have done. And so I'm really happy and excited about interviewing you today. So
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been I've been very fortunate, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to get to speak on your platform. So thank you for allowing me this time.
thank you so much. So tell me a little bit about your early life. You know, growing up, you were from Brinkley, Arkansas, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that's correct. I grew up in a small town called Brinkley. It's a little town that sits off of Interstate 40, right between Little Rock, Arkansas, and Memphis, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people if you miss that exit, you're going to have to drive up about anywhere from 5 to 10 miles, depending on which direction to actually turn around and get back to the town. But it was an interesting experience growing up. I had a lot of great experiences, all of which I had an opportunity to learn and grow from, the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
I was born to a teenage mom. She had six of us by the time she was 25, but I often tell people that she always gave us not necessarily everything that we wanted, but we got everything that we needed. And the things that she did for us and the perseverance that she showed along the way are a lot of what's inside of me, and forces me to never be able to give up on anything that I set my mind to.
That's amazing. Wow. God bless her. That's
Yeah.
incredible. Six children by the age of 25. And so was it a struggle for her, or was she able to, in that sense, like, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of single moms out there, and how did she do it?
Right. I mean, we definitely struggled, but I mean, when you're growing up in a certain situation, I mean, you can look around and see what others may be going through as far as friends and
Mhm.
uh, other family members and relatives, but it's your situation. So, if it's a struggle, I guess it's a struggle. It's all any struggle for me, I look at as a learning experience, So I would have to ask her. I think that she would probably say that it was a struggle, but for us, it was just growing up,
Right.
and for me, the way that I seen things growing up, I seen what was possible
Mhm.
by the people I was surrounded with, by my friends, by the opportunities that I had, by sports. So just being able to see what's possible and surrounding myself and moving in that space allowed me to be able to think in that way and eventually be able to move in a space in a direction to where people are, have common goals as myself. So I just think it's a mindset in life, and eventually, if you really focus in and think about some of the situations that you've been in, uh, don't look at them as obstacles. Think back to them and think of what you can learn from them, because oftentimes we learn the most from the people who've done us the worst and the situations that have hurt us the most.
Absolutely. And a lot of times it's a complete learning experience. Like, okay, I know that is not necessarily what I want, but sometimes you need the storm in order to
Yeah.
move on and get to the next step. So
Yeah, because you look back and say, "Man, wow, I really went through it," but look at me now. And then, it prepares you for the next time. You know that some of the things you go through, you have to, take a deep breath and just say, "I know this is temporary. I know I'm going to get through it." And if you think in that way, I mean, for me, it always works. I don't know if it works for everybody, but I think the more you practice that mindset, the more that you'll be able to speak those things into existence.
absolutely. Thoughts are very powerful, and
Yes.
how you make yourself, you can either pump yourself up into moving forward and saying, okay, like you just said, this is temporary, or it can be a complete, you can say,
You get stuck, you get caught up in, yeah.
and and stay in that situation. So absolutely. Now, when did you, did you always play basketball? Was it a different sport? Did you play many sports? How did you know that basketball was your thing? How old were you?
Well, growing up in my small town, we didn't have a lot of recreational sports, so it wasn't until I was 12 that I was able to actually play organized sports. My first actual sports event with referees at my school, I was in seventh grade. I wrote about this in my book, but my very first football play, I played running back. I ran the ball 64 yards to what I thought was a touchdown. I came up just a little bit short, put the ball down, turned around and celebrated as if I had scored. And I often joke with people that that was the point at which I realized that I probably should move on to another sport. But I went on to play football all the way pretty much through high school. But my senior year, I decided to focus on basketball as I had had a pretty good growth spurt. And I mean, I'd say looking back, it was a pretty good decision that was helped and encouraged by my high school basketball coach Herbert Williams, who was one of my number one mentors, always has been in my life, and I was just fortunate to have somebody like that to look up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There, many people are very key to progression, and also many people are key to, some people not necessarily progressing because
Yeah,
they say, oh,
yeah.
you're not going to make it, or you're this or that. And I think that's really important because I think if you look in the past, I think like one of Jordan's coaches said to him that he wasn't going to make it, or I think,
Well, yeah, he didn't. He got cut. He didn't make the team
yeah.
when he was in. I think it was JV,
Hmm.
and it just changed his mindset to the point to where he was like determined to work as hard as harder than anybody, so that that would never happen again, and became the greatest basketball player of all time.
And I think that that's so important for children nowadays to realize that, somebody might say, hey, you're not good enough now, and it, or that you're not going to be this, that, or the other thing. But it all depends on your drive and your determination as far as what children and kids can actually do, um, and strive to be, and not let others say no, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, I encourage kids. I tell them, I mean, and adults as well. I mean, listen to those people that are telling you what you can do, not the people who are telling you what you can't do, because that's often a reflection of something that they have within themselves, some failures or struggles that they have within themselves. And people that think like that, they don't really think outside the box. So sometimes, if you want to really go to that next level, you can't listen to the naysayers. You have to really just hone in and focus in on whatever it is that you want and go for it. And if you fail, it's okay. You can go for it again, or you pick something else
Mhm.
and you go for that. But don't listen to the people who have not really tried what you tried, because your way may be different and your way may be successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, did you, when you started playing basketball, did you think, or did you have it in your mind that you would be, a big time athlete? Did you think you would play for the Harlem Globetrotters? Was that your dream, or did the events in life kind of steer you in that direction?
Well, my first love is football. I mean, even to this day, I still love watching football. I love basketball. I chose that uh, as my sport. But growing up, I mean, I just played a bunch of different sports. I
Hmm.
played a bunch of different sports until I found one that was for me, and it turned out to be basketball as a result of the growth spurt that I had between my junior and senior year, and I worked hard at it. A lot of things that I had as far as my gift, they came natural, but also comes a lot of practice. And it was probably, I'd say it was when I was like, it was around 85 or 86 when I was about 10 years old. I don't want to date myself, but I guess I have. But it was around Chicago Bears and the Mets and baseball where I really just became into sports, and I just began to follow it more and began to see what was possible. And right around that same time is when I met my mentor, which was my high school basketball coach. And he just instilled in me that, if you worked hard and number one, got good grades, you'd be able to go as far as you wanted to, because there were so many people that he had coached before that had come through my small town that were great athletes. And I've seen some of these guys who never advanced because they didn't take care of what they had to take care of in the classroom, and they didn't surround themselves with the people who had common goals like them, and that would be to, make it to another level of life and break through the break, above and beyond what was right in front of them outside of the box.
Right. And what do you say about that? Like to children nowadays? I mean, obviously, being really good in sports is wonderful, and you can be a great athlete, and you can be the best in high school and everything that like that. However, um, the education piece is really really important for them to be able to advance. So what advice would you give to children in that sense, or young teenagers, youth nowadays, that are like, oh, I'm great, I'm this, but they're struggling with their grades? Like, what?
My advice is to really just I mean, depends on what age. As you get, I mean, I say around seventh or eighth grade or whatever. I think that that's the time when you kind of really start to almost get into high school and think about, maybe I want to be this, maybe I want to be that. But start to tap into some of your friends, find out what their family members are doing. If you want to be a doctor, maybe you have a family member who's a friend who's a doctor. Just get some education from them and find out about it. Maybe you'll find out that's not for you. If it is, you get to go to another level. But it just takes research, and don't let anyone force you to become something that you don't want to be. You get to develop into what you want to be. Like my son, he plays basketball, he plays baseball, he plays football. I didn't force him to play anything. He enjoys the sports. My daughter, she doesn't play anything. She likes to sing and dance, and that's what she does. She has a right to choose. I'm a true believer in that. As a parent, I'll teach my kids all the basics of what's right, what I think is right and wrong. But they do have an opportunity to question me, because they get to grow up and be who they want to be, because my life is not their life and their journey is not my journey. They're a part of it. So I don't get to control, what they do. All I can do is encourage them and hope that they become the best people possible that they were meant to be. And I find that as we get older, as adults, especially athletes, we have our kids and we're like, oh, I want them to be like me. I want them to, or I didn't make it in sports, or I didn't make it in this. I want them to be better than me. But what we forget is that we still get the dream too. Just because you don't necessarily reach that professional dream as an athlete or whatever, you still get to dream again, about things. And you get to show your kids that, you know, you get to tell, you hear the stories about, I was this, I was that, I created this. Show them what you're doing now. Don't talk about the past. Show them what you're doing now and stop trying to live through them, and let them develop into what they want to be. Let them choose. So that's
Yeah.
my advice to the parents and the kids.
Yes. And I think that's really important, because a lot of times, sometimes you go to high school games or little league games or whatever, and there's so much pressure on the children to be that next big athlete, and it takes all the fun out of it for the children. And what you said is absolutely correct. Show the kids that they can do whatever they want, and they're not necessarily they don't have to be pressured into being the next great thing. If they make a mistake, it's okay. And
Right.
it's really, I think
It's a
that's
lot of
great.
pressure, a
Yeah.
lot of unnecessary pressure, but it's just something that's been, passed down a lot of times, in sports. And we're talking about sports because I'm an athlete, I assume, but in sports, that person's dad, they pushed them to do that. And maybe they didn't make it. Now they're trying to, it's just a cycle that's repeating. Everybody's not going to make it, but there are things that we all, can be good at. And that's the things
Mhm.
that we can study and focus on. We can research the people that we admire and figure out how they got to where they are,
Right.
and that doesn't necessarily have to be a professional athlete. It can be a
Exactly.
doctor, a lawyer, it can be a counselor, a life coach. It can be, a politician, a reverend. It can be a singer, a dancer. It doesn't matter. It can be anybody from any walk
As
of
long as you
life.
be the best that you can be in whatever it is that you choose to be, then that's absolutely 100% correct. It's really, it's perfect. It's important. It's very important. Now, um, so for what about some kid like today, in today's youth, it's very common, depending on where some of these children live, and that even doesn't even matter where they live, peer pressure. And now you have the age of internet, social media. all of that. Whereas when we were going to school, someone actually had to come up to our face and say, I don't like you, or you did this, or whatever. However, now with social media, all of that, and the pressures of kids saying, oh, well, if you don't do this, you're not cool, and if you get good grades, then you're a nerd, or whatever it might be. What do you tell, like, what advice would you give to those children that are really struggling with right now, whether it be through bullying, whether it be through peer pressure, and then really in their mind wanting to do better, but they keep getting like sucked back into the negativity or into the wrong group?
Well, I mean, as a as a youth, I definitely can relate. I mean, there were people that were really close to me or really accessible that, went the other direction, and I could have, chose to do the same, but that's not what was in the cards for me. So I mean, I just encourage I just encourage them to try, really try. And it takes a lot of thinking and dedication. Just try to surround yourself with people who have, common goals as you. And that's what I did. In seventh grade, I had about 5 or 6 friends, and we knew that we wanted to go to college. What we wanted to play, college sports. We wanted to go play professional sports, but we knew in order for that to happen, we had to take care of things in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So we competed on sports and we competed in the classroom. As a result of that, 5 of us graduated with honors. We only had like 65 people in our graduating class. 6 of us had sports scholarships: 3 basketball, 3 football, in a class of 60 people. But what we did was, even if we didn't play sports, we still could have gone the scholarship route, academic scholarship, because our grades were good enough. So just think that you're able to break whatever cycle it seems like you're going through, and just dream, and realize that your dreams are attainable no matter what anybody says, because it's your life, and whatever you want to attain is in your head, and you can make it possible.
Right.
That's my advice. I mean, the bullying and stuff like that, that's something I often talked about. When I was with the Globetrotters, we talked about the ABCs of anti-bullying: action, taking action, being brave, showing compassion. And what that means is, first of all, you got to get to the kids who are bullying. And what I would often tell these kids is, like, you really have to just think about how you feel. Even the bullies, how do you feel when somebody hurts your feelings? Like, close your eyes and really, really think about that. Then think about how it feels when somebody makes you feel good. They smile at you. It's
Mm-hmm.
a whole different emotion that goes over your body. So if you're able to think in that before you get ready to pick on someone, or in the middle of doing it, how am I making them feel? How would this make me feel? If you continue to practice, those methods, then you'll slowly begin to think in a way to where, all right, maybe I shouldn't say that. That would hurt me, so I wouldn't say that to him, to him or her, or I wouldn't want that done to me. So why would I do that to the next person? And that's just kind of what I practice in. I think about how things are going to make me feel, as much as I can. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I think about as much as I can before I react to certain situations.
Absolutely. No. And it's true. And getting children and young people to realize the power of their mind, and how much their mind does actually impact, even with us as adults, how we look at life, or our perspective on life is, we it's how we think. And if children can just be strong enough and realize that middle school, high school, you have to just survive those years, because there's a whole other big huge world out there that
Yeah,
so many people, that you
miss out on.
yeah,
They
abs-
never get access to,
absolutely.
because they never make it to that next level. They just kind of get stuck in where they are,
Hmm.
And there's several people that I know like that. Great people that, you know, never have had a chance yet. Not to say that it's over, because they're still living, that have not really had a chance to blossom into their, their full potential. But as I continue to tell people still, I mean, I'm in my mid 40s, but I'm dreaming like I was when I was 5 years old.
I agree.
And while dreaming like I'm 5, I'm wondering, what are these kids dreaming about? Because I knew I had some wild dreams, and they're coming true.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I'm the big dreamer in my family, and people are like, "What are you doing? What are you thinking?"
They probably think you're crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely the crazy one. So
Yeah,
that's okay. That's what it takes. Then that's what it is, right?
exactly. If that's what it takes for me to help, help people and help make the world a better place, call me crazy,
I
to my grave.
hmm I agree with that. Absolutely. So, what was your defining moment? What was that breakout moment that you had in when you realized that you were going to into basketball, like the Harlem Globetrotters, that you like just that moment in your life that like, wow, like I'm not just playing basketball, but this is going to be my career.
Right. I would probably say that it was probably my junior year in college. So right before my final year, I led my conference in scoring. And then I started to get all these accolades about possibly playing professional basketball and getting drafted. And that's when I began to think, well, maybe I can break the odds and play professional sports. So after that, going into my senior year, had a pretty good year, but I won the college dunk contest at the Final Four in San Antonio. And ironically, one of the people I beat out was Felipe Lopez of the Dominican
Oh my
Republic.
God.
Yeah, that was '98 at the Final Four. Felipe is a great guy, a great competitor. I actually seen him a couple times when he was playing in the NBA, but he was one of my competitors. And at that point, the Globetrotters knew me from that, and the rest, I say, is history. 18 years of traveling the world and making people smile, and just doing
Yeah,
my part and making a difference, and now continuing to do so even on another level post Globetrotting days.
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my
I
God.
had to throw that in there because I know you're in
In the
the
Dominican
DR,
Republic. Yes. And so
and he's doing
absolutely.
some great stuff down there too. I saw ESPN 30 for 30 on him, and it was
Yes. And
amazing what he's
they
doing
just
down
did
there.
a big documentary on him.
Yeah, it was ESPN 30 for 30. Yeah, it was great.
So it's fantastic. Oh, that's so exciting. Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Make
um,
it relative.
yes, it is. He is. And no, but he's wonderful. He's amazing,
Yes,
amazing,
yes,
amazing player also.
amazing person.
So, okay, we all know that your name is Flight Time, and that has to do with the dunking, right?
Right.
So, when was the first time that you got? Was it after that dunk contest
The
that
first time that I got the nickname, or the first time that I
that you
well, the
got?
nickname came when I joined the Globetrotters. So when I joined the team in '99, the owner at the time, his name was Manny Jackson. He felt like every time I jumped, I should get a frequent flower mile, so he started calling me Flight Time. That was his reason for the flight time, and
You accumulated a lot of out of a lot of air miles.
right. But it got to a point at the end where I wasn't flying quite as high, so I had to switch it around on the people and let them know that they don't call me flight time for my dunking anymore. It's typically because I'm at the airport on time for my flights. I'm ground time now.
Right now, okay, so how do you exercise your mind? Like, so there's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, as we know, with everything happening in the world with COVID and everything else on top of normal stuff. Like, how do you stay positive, and what advice would you give right now to those that are really feeling hopeless, maybe those without jobs or those that don't know what they're gonna do, or what is it how do you, I mean, because exercising your mind in the positive sense is really, really important. um what would you say?
Well, for me, probably like everybody else, when COVID first broke and we went on lockdown, I was just 100% engaged in the news, watching the news 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I began to realize how it was making me feel. It was making me sad. It was making me depressed. And I just realized that I needed to stop watching it as much. And so when I realized that I made that shift, I also began to, when it opened back up for us to be able to go out and exercise, I began to walk
Uh-huh.
and take in the fresh air. That helped. So I took it to one level, another level. I began to meditate before I walked. But then I began to do a meditation walk. And ever since I started that, I mean, it's been great for me. I've been walking, I've been thinking, I've been creating. And I just try to encourage people to, during this time, there's been a lot of people that have worked jobs for a number of years that they have not liked. You know, they've been dreaming of doing other things. But there's a lot of people that are caught up in the pandemic instead of right now using this time to search and, like I said, figure out that person who you look up to that you may want to be like, investigate and figure out how they got there instead of trying to get through the pandemic. You know, hopefully you will get that job back, but hopefully you're looking for that job that you really want, or that career path may not even be a job. It may be something that doesn't look like a job that can generate you income for the rest of your life and give you freedom
Mhm.
to spend time with your family and do the things that you dreamed of. But don't just get caught up in going through the pandemic. Get caught up in trying to create something that's relevant during this time. Try to figure out what's making money, what's generating income right now, and try to see if that's something that suits you or an area of expertise that you may be able to develop in.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
that's my, just don't get, I get up in the morning, I give myself 5 to 10 minutes of Good Morning Google. They give me my briefings and that's it. I'm not just going to sit here. I'm updated, but I'm not going to sit here and, let my mind continue to be fed with, the news, whether you view it negative or positive. But there's only so much. If you change to one channel, they're telling you the same thing just in a different way. All I need to hear is one time, maybe twice, and then from the other people who are going to talk to me about it anyway when I talk to them. But that's overkill is not good for the mindset, because if you do get sick, and you've been watching this, your mind is already weak. So you're thinking about all the people who have already lost their lives or potentially sick, and that's not good either.
Mhm.
So, just try to continue to live your lives as well as you can. Cover up, put the face mask on. We don't know what this is that's going on, but we do know that if you cover up, there's a better chance of you not contracting and you not giving it to somebody else. And that inconvenience, whatever it may cause you, is worth it to save lives.
Absolutely. I compare it to kind of like, okay, so a lot of times people, like, when I see the news in the United States, which I'm the same, I stay away from the news. I get what I need. A lot of
Mhm.
time it's speculation and it's hearsay,
Yeah, that's
all
all it is.
that stuff.
That's
And
what we're doing right now.
right. And it could literally, it just drives you crazy. It's like, is it going to, isn't it going to, isn't it? Like, it's, when I need to know what I need to know, I'll figure it out.
Right.
However, but it's one of those things, like you say, that it's, number one, it's time for people to kind of, I call it, reinvent myself. It's something that, okay, what I'm doing now is not working, so you gotta sit there and try and figure out another way of doing things. And a lot of times, you know it's great because at this point in time, so many people spend 80% of their time in their work and they don't even enjoy it. So, it's time for them to think about, what do I love? What do I have a passion for? And try and get to that point where they can enjoy and love at least what they do. Um, but I do know that, like, a lot of times, in with what you were saying before, in there with putting on the face mask and doing those types of things, um, yeah, it's inconvenient. However, like you said, some are like, well, it's my right to not wear one. Well, it's also, it's kind of like, for me, if you're going to go skydiving, you should put on a parachute. You're not going to
Yeah.
jump out of the plane without the parachute. So why
Right.
are you going to go and take the risk unnecessarily
Right.
if you don't have to?
And that's, in that instance with the parachute, you're just risking your life. But in this other instance, you're risking your life as well as another person. Like myself, as a healthy person, I think it's, healthy could be carrying it around and give it to somebody who's not healthy. How selfish of,
Absolutely.
of me if I'm walking in a supermarket for 5 or 10 minutes to just cover up and practice social distance until we figure out
Right.
exactly what this is, we can move forward. But it's, I don't know. It's just sad to me that people can't think even that deep to
Hmm.
be sensitive to the possibilities, because they're so caught up in what's political and
Right.
the traditional ways of thinking that have been passed down.
Mhm.
So I think this is a great opportunity to think outside the box, outside the box of tradition, and let's try to figure out a better way. And that's
Absolutely.
what we're getting to do right now.
I agree with you 100% on that. I do, and I love the idea of people, trying to reinvent themselves and trying to, find something and that brings them joy, instead, as opposed to, it's kind of your time to wind down. And I still haven't mastered the art of meditation, but at the same time, it's one of
Well, there's a free app called Headspace. You can download it. It's free right now for you. I actually paid for it, but it's really worked wonders for me over the past couple of months. So I highly recommend it.
I
So
do
big shout out to Headspace. It
heads.
gives us like walking meditation, sleeping meditations, anger, all
I
of that
use
stuff.
it as sleeping meditation
There
because
you go.
my mind is there, and I use Abide. There's they have it on YouTube because my brain is constantly going. So if I don't listen to something, I won't go to sleep. But yes, so Headspace, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Every day. I'm on a streak.
Very good. Very good. What have you learned? What have you learned about yourself in this time, or what creativity, what new ideas have, or maybe you can share one. What new ideas have maybe you come up with in through the meditation?
Well, through the meditation, well, a couple things that I had going on before that the meditation has helped. I'm building a new home. My girlfriend and I in Florida, we're building a new home, and that can be a stressful situation. And the meditation definitely has helped us get through that. You know, the paperworks and the back and forth and the indecisions and the back and forth between even the two of us, but also through this this pause, this COVID, I've had opportunity to really just create and think deeper into some things that I've already thought about. Like, for instance, connecting with my kids. My kids don't live with me. My son lives in New York. I had visited him just before COVID happened, and we started playing video games. So I started connected with him through video games. That was a way for us to connect in a way that we had never really connected before. My
Right.
daughter lives in Louisiana. We connected on TikTok. We're making TikTok videos
Nice.
together. But at the same time, it also gave me time to sit back and think about all the experiences that I've had and allow me to think about how I can create and promote for myself, but not for myself, to do things for myself in order to make things better for other people. So that's where I'm at right now with my motto, kindness is free. I have my sports brand, Swag Ball. I mean, the home that I'm building in Florida, I want to be able to bring young people and old in and just show them what's possible, a different way. I'll have like basketball clinics occasionally, just
Mhm.
retreats, just to teach people a better way of thinking.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's kind of my vision. It's all about being kind and making the world a better place best as I can.
Yeah, because the more you do, a lot of times people say or think, well, for example, that you shouldn't have the goal that you want to be wealthy or want to advance yourself, right? But the more you do that, the more you're able to
Help
share and help others.
exactly.
And that's so important, because it's almost like you need to be, oh, sorry that you're successful. And no, it's because of that success that you're able to share and do all of these things and be able to impact the lives of other people, I think.
I know that I have shared a certain level of success, and in this post, that success, what I have realized is that I still the goals that I had initially post basketball days were mine. They were kind of selfish. They were about me. But once I shifted and realized that there were so many other people that I get to help and I can help if I just go ahead and step up and go ahead and be exactly what I'm supposed to be or what is the universe is meant for me to be. When that happened, when I shifted into that way of thinking and started thinking about all the people that I get to help, that's when everything started to happen for me. So
Absolutely.
when you make it not about yourself, I think people when you have your dreams and you start to think about other people that you can help, I think for the most part that's when things will tend to happen for you.
Right, because it's not about competition. It's about sharing. It's about, you know, okay, I've been blessed with these ideas and these thoughts, and I've been blessed with the ability to create and do all of these things, and I want to share that with others so that it can put value and hopefully increase their life at the same
Yeah.
time. You know, I think that that's so important, especially for young kids. I'd like, especially for children or youth, or I mean, for anybody. It doesn't matter how old they are, but I just think that for children to see that there's so much out there and there's so many possibilities, and really the world is whatever they want to make it, with, you know, motivation, perseverance, and hard work, determination, so that they can do it also.
These are all things that I continue to, use to this day. All the things that you just mentioned, and these are things that never die. We have to continue to be motivated and determined. And like I said, if we're not showing our kids and just telling them it's no good, you know,
Exactly.
show them through actions.
Mm-hmm.
Show them
Yeah.
what you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe you did make it as a professional athlete or whatever, but what are you creating now?
Right.
What are you working toward besides trying to tell me what I can be or what I get to be that you didn't accomplish?
Mm-hmm. Lead by example. That's
Yep.
that's how I lead by example. So I mean, and that is always one of the really important things that I find. You know, if I'm telling well, I don't have children of my own per se, but if I'm telling my students to do something, then, you know, I'm sitting there saying, okay, do this, but and I do it myself. Like, and because if not, then how am I showing them truly that this is how something should be if I'm not personally doing it myself, or I'm not invested in what I'm telling them to do, you
I
know?
would I would never ask a person to do something that I couldn't or wouldn't do myself.
Mhm.
And that's the way I always lead, even when I was player coach with the Globetrotters. If I'm telling you to go out here and play hard every night, go hard on every play. All right, look, I'm showing you. I'm not only telling you, I'm showing you. So that was one of the great things about being a player coach, is that I could show you. I'm not just telling you this is an example. Let me go out here right now. So
Yeah.
that's just the way I think, and that's what I believe in. And I think if we all kind of worked in that space, then we can all learn a lot from each other.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn, and so many people have so many different great things to share that no one's ever an expert, because you're a lifelong learner. There's always more to learn, and that's the greatest part about it. So now, for example, in the situation of, this unfortunate scenario of what has happened, in the United States, the injustices, the inequalities, that many people are facing. It's really, it's sad. It's just horrific. Um, and what do you say to children, teenagers, adults, young people that experience that on a daily basis? Like, because there are a lot of people that still experience that every single day, and it's horrific. Um, what what they have to go to, like, I'm getting a little choked up here, but what they have to go to, like, how do you help them persevere, and how do you help them to say, you know what, it's just ignorance. It's, however, at the same time, you're seeing leaders and these things just kind of being, sometimes just, many times, just being brushed under the rug, and you want to scream. you know.
Well, for me, I mean, I grew up in a small town in Arkansas, so I grew up around racism. I wrote about a little bit in my book, so I won't go into detail too much about it. But I learned from it all, and I have nothing against those people. Those people in my hometown are all awesome people who I think I learned a lot from, and I owe a lot of gratitude for. But as I watch this movement that's happening right now, I'm super proud of these young people, because they're aware. They're awake. They see what's going on. And in the past, when you would see people out marching and displaying, it was just Black people out there. But now it's every race of person out there. There's more, whites, Latinos, Indians, you name it. everybody, and it's young people. The crowds are younger and younger, and they're thinking different now. They're like, okay, this is not right. This is my friend who's Black, or this is my friend who's Latino, and they're just like me, and I don't think I'm better than them, even though I may have been taught to think that way. And that's all it is. It's just teachings that have been passed from generation to generation. So when you see I can empathize, with pretty much anybody, because I know that a lot of the way that we are is what we're taught. And
Absolutely.
our minds only have a certain level of control or capacity to think outside the box. And some of us can't, because if you're around people long enough, you'll hear them say, well, my grandfather used to say, or my dad used to say, or my mom used to say, and I say to them, well, maybe they weren't right.
Right. And
It's okay to question them. You don't have to be like that. Where did that get them? And you can take it either way, but it's okay to question. Well, maybe when do you get to think for yourself? At what age do you stop doing stuff because mama or granddaddy said so?
right. Absolutely.
So I stopped a long time ago, and there's nothing against them. They taught me a lot of great things, but I get to differentiate in what I decide works for me and my way of life and what I get to do for the world.
Yeah, because you know you see so many different aspects, and usually people are a product of their environment and
Absolutely.
they've grown up with and what they've learned. You don't just automatically, you aren't born and think that way. You are shaped as a child in that sense. And I'll never forget one couple of years ago, I had a mom come in and was like, well, is there not another teacher for my daughter? And I said, well, why? And she's like, well, she doesn't like Black people. And I said, she's 6. I go,
Yeah.
how does she know that? And she said, well, she doesn't even like my best friend. And my best friend, I said, I'm sorry. I said, but there is something that you are telling her in the home, and that is her teacher, because it's a small
Yeah.
school. There was only one first grade classroom at that point in time. And I'm like, however, we do not judge anybody here. And she will love this teacher because the teacher's a fantastic teacher. And I said, and I don't even want this to be a conversation ever again. And that little girl grew up just loving her teacher, just loved her. It had nothing to do except for the fact that the mom instilled that in her.
Yeah, because I was instilled in the mom.
Right.
And she's still teaching that old way of thinking. That's what happens.
I
And
know.
these kids aren't having it right now. So I love it. I mean, I don't like the rioting, but the protest, and to see just the difference in,
Well, you know
the
what?
appearance of the crowd, so different than what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, the rioting just comes from,
A
unfortunately,
few.
yes, and
Hmm.
it's the bad apples that spoil the bunch. However, I think the majority, and I remember seeing on the news, the dad with his children the next day going and helping cleaning up um, the mess, the disaster that it was left in. You're not helping anybody by burning things and breaking people's businesses and doing stuff like that. They had nothing to do
No.
with what happened. So you're protesting in that way, but the majority, the great majority, have done it in a very peaceful,
Yeah.
in a very wonderful way that I feel that America in general should be proud of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, there's no reason for all of the violence or anything like that. I mean, if you really want to look back and think about it, if you think about like what Martin Luther King went through, what the civil rights movement went through, what they had to endure in order to get to where we are today, and not a single finger was lifted. Then there's no reason, at this time, and you're not bringing any justice to anybody by doing that type of violent violence or protest, because really you're actually taking away from the importance of that person's life, I think.
I think it's also important too for the older people to start listening to these younger people. Like parents, start listening to what these kids are talking about. You know, become aware. Don't be unaware. Don't not have any idea what's going on or why your kids are thinking a certain way or why they are rejecting your way of thinking. Try to figure it out. You know, uh, as we get older, we have to figure out a way to either adapt to this new world or we'll become extinct because it's changing. I think it's changing in a good way. And you know, it's pretty cool to be alive during this time, even though it's some unprecedented times. I feel like this has been a great learning year for the whole world if we choose to look at it that way, for those of us who choose to look at it that way. And I think that a lot of us are.
That's just an amazing, incredible point of view, what you just said right there, because there is so much more positive, I feel, going on. However, like you said before, you had to turn off the news because it's just 24/7 of, negativity, and it's like it's toxic.
It's
However,
just sad.
yeah, yeah.
It's sad, you know. So me, I went and subscribed to the Good News Network on
Oh my God,
Instagram.
I love the Good News Network.
Hey, I'm all about the good news.
My
I challenged my mom and my siblings. I said, look, I understand you guys want to have a conversation, but let's just do 2-1, two positive posts and to the one that you want to have a conversation about. But give me two positive
right.
and see what we can do. Make it 3 and just imagine how much social media positive stuff we would have out there. It would just eliminate 3-1 and then take it up to 4. Before you know it, we'd have no negative stuff or you wouldn't even notice it. It just kind of slide by.
Would not. No more worrying about what the Democrats or the Republicans did or who did what. Enough. Okay, so to end our interview, I would like to ask you a few personal questions.
Yeah, let's go.
So, number 1, who were your heroes or role models? Maybe 1 and 1. Who was your role model growing up, and who is your role model or hero today?
Oh, okay. So growing up, if I had to pick a sports figure, it was probably Scottie Pippen because he's from state of Arkansas like me. He was from a rural town, Hamburg, Arkansas. I came from a small town, Brinkley. And I think he's about 10 years older than me, but he showed me that, you know, you can come from a small town in Arkansas and you can make a difference, an impact in the world. But my number one mentor is my high school basketball coach. He coached me from 7th through 12th grade. His name was Herbert Williams, and I always let him know every chance I get that he helped me on my way. So, and what was the second question?
The second one, well, who was your role model, and who is it like? Who is
Oh,
it?
okay, yeah. He'll forever and always be my,
Yeah.
of course, and my parents, my dad and my mom.
Yes.
But
So,
yeah.
my goodness, that's so wonderful. All right, what is your go-to feel-good music?
Oh man, I like R&B and rap, of course, but I like all kinds of music.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
I've really been listening.
if you're down,
I've really been right now.
and you need that pick me up. What is that?
Oh, I'm listening to what these young people listening to. I'm listening to Roddy Ricch and Lil Baby and the Baby and all the babies. Drake and Future and 2 Chainz. That's what I'm listening to. But when I want to relax and chill or just get into a thinking space,
Mm-hmm.
I put on some John Legend. I like that kind of music, neo soul type stuff to relax me. So that's where I go. But yeah, to get hyped up, I get with the young people. Give me some Roddy Ricch.
That's awesome.
And they're putting out some really good messages too in a lot of these songs here over the past few months. Because I'm big into the words now.
Because I think that musicians now have such a platform to teach.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's really, really important.
That's why I said a lot of these, what I've been listening to, so I'll put on YouTube and actually look at the lyrics and figure out and listen to what they're saying. And that's why I said they're actually putting out some pretty good messages now. So, yeah.
So, yeah, it's important. Okay, what was the last book you read or listened to? Now, and I wrote listen to because I'm a big fan of Audible, so I'm always listening to books now. Although I love to read tangible books, but I don't have a lot of time for reading. However, what was the last book that you read or
Well, I'll tell you this. Uh, I've been reading a book called Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 2.
Mhm.
And the reason why I read that, well, I didn't have to read. I was reading because I was asked to write a chapter in Volume 4, and I just actually completed that chapter. So that's what I'm reading right now. I'm also reading another book on being the importance of fatherhood to a daughter. I don't have it with me right now, so I'm reading a couple books, right now.
Can you give us
Uh,
a little sneak peek into what you wrote for volume 4?
yeah, I just I talk a lot about kindness.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cracking the Rich Code, Volume 4, but I just kind of talk about the kindness and the way that you treat others and the way you have treated others. Maybe or may not, you've already figured it out. If you can go back and do the research, you've already met the people that you need to get you to where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're coming up and you need to figure out ways to recognize them
Right.
when they come. And it talks about, the bridges
Mm-hmm.
that you develop. So that's kind of the route that I took
Very cool.
without going into too much
Yes.
detail.
No.
But I think it should be coming out the end of July, early August, from what I'm hearing. So it's pretty exciting to be able to share that.
But you already published a book too. You pushed an autobiography, correct?
Yes, Projects Popes and President. It's an Amazon best, still available on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble. And yeah, I talk a little bit about my experiences as a Globetrotter, as a kid, race. Talk about my experiences 3 times racing around the world on the Amazing Race, as well as meeting President Obama twice,
My God.
spinning the basketball on Pope Francis's finger, meeting Bill Clinton. We're actually shaking Bill Clinton's hand when he was the governor of Arkansas. So I've had a pretty fortunate and lucky life, and I continue to do so. So that's why it's important for me to be able to share, my stories and just try to figure out a way that I can be uh, a blessing and support as many people as I can, because there's been a lot of people who helped me on my way, and there's a lot of people who will continue to help me. So I just find it important to be humble and pay it forward so everybody can enjoy this life the best they can.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. What is your favorite extracurricular activity or hobby?
Well, I really actually enjoy music.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy concerts. I really enjoy sporting events. I found since I've retired, I really enjoy grilling.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I
Grill
enjoy.
master?
I don't say I'm a master yet, but if it's up to me, I'll throw something on the grill every day,
Very
even
good.
if it's just a corn on the cob.
Yeah.
And I try
Okay,
not
final question. Last one, last one. All right. So you kind of shared a little bit about this, but like, what is like a I can't speak, a future goal of yours, or like the next project that you're working on?
Yeah, I'm working on several things. I'm actually working on a documentary right now where I would like to. My goal is to be able to um, give a little bit of history of some of the former guys I played with, former Globetrotters, some recent history. The Globetrotter has 100 years of history, but some of the recent history hasn't been told. So I want to my vision is to create a documentary where I give light to some of the guys who played years before me and even after me, so that people can realize that there's a lot of guys that are still doing great things.
Mhm.
Guys that a lot of these professional athletes as kids probably went to see perform and probably wonder what they happened to. But there's a lot of guys that I played with that were former Globetrotters that are doing amazing things in the world and in the community. And I just want them to be put back on that pedestal, back on that stage, and continue to make a difference in the world.
Absolutely.
And that's just one thing.
Yes. I really want to thank you so much for taking this time with me today and being here. And it's been an honor, a great pleasure. And I really wish you all the best in everything that you do for the future. I do.
Well, thank you, Kristi. I appreciate your time, and it wouldn't be right if I let you go without letting you know something that you already know, and that's that kindness is free. So let it
Yes,
go.
I love
Hashtag kindness is free. It don't cost you a dime.
this is free.
And you guys can follow me on social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, of course.
And of course, I love LinkedIn.
Yeah, me too. That's where the businesses happen. A lot of people don't know, but they get to know that that's where you need to go to conduct business.
It's
Those other platforms are great and they're fun, and you can conduct business on them as well. But I found this tool to be the most beneficial for me, and as far as where I want to advance with my careers and people I want to connect with.
yes, I have to agree.
Especially through the pandemic, I've been able to connect with people I never thought I would be able to, you know, so
I agree.
it's been a blessing.
I am 100% with you. Like, it's like, wow, you know,
I can talk to anybody.
there's
Everybody's
a whole
accessible.
other level on there, you know, it's
Yeah.
a whole other level. So yes, complete shout out for LinkedIn right there.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. I hope you found this interview to be as inspirational as I did. If you want to hear it again, visit our YouTube channel, What's Up Punta Cana with Kristi Maggio. And always remember, kindness is free. Have a great week.